Howdy again, AdWords fans, and welcome back to Chapter 4, where we're going to create our first campaign. Now, we left off in the last chapter creating our actual account, and we're left off on this screen, which we have the big call to action here, which is create your first campaign. Now, it's going to be important to understand the hierarchy of an AdWords account. Basically, at the top level, there's your account. Beneath that is your campaign. Inside campaigns are ad groups. Inside ad groups are keywords and ads. We'll talk more about the specific hierarchy, how those elements work with each other in future chapters. The purpose here is to just dive in and create our first campaign. But the big question is, who are we creating a campaign for? What's our company? I decided to use a company that I like called Poppin. They are a really cool, eclectic office supply and office furniture store. And here's a nice pop-up. And we're going to use Poppin for the rest of this course. We'll probably jump into other companies as well to get a sense of different strategies. But we're going to create a campaign as if we are creating an AdWords campaign for the company Poppin. They're at poppin.com. You can go over there and check it out. It's important to think about what you want to advertise in specific campaigns. Now, campaigns are unique in the fact that you control the ad scheduling and the location targeting for campaigns at the campaign level, which means you can't have different schedules and different location targeting for specific ad groups within your campaign. So for example, if you were a company that was shipping goods internationally and you wanted to ship goods to Singapore, you wanted to have a campaign focused on Singapore shipping during the time zone that you're open in Singapore, you would want to have a separate campaign that's only targeting Singapore. Now let's say, for example, Poppin is just targeting the US. That's going to be our example. They only ship to the US. So how do we want to structure the campaign? It's a really good way to get a sense of how you want to structure the campaign by jumping over to the actual website, taking a look at the navigational structure of the company's website or your website. What are the different categories of products? What are your different categories of services? What are the subcategories? And there's no right or wrong answer with structuring your campaigns, ad groups, keyword lists, but there are a lot of individual strategies, and we're going to dive in. We're going to get deeper into strategies of creating campaign structures, account structures in further chapters. For now, I want to just talk about a simple, sensible structure. I see over here they have different categories of products. Now, the reason why they have different categories of products is because each category caters to a certain type of buyer. Those buyers are going to act differently, they're going to hang out differently, they're going to hang out in different places online, they're going to search for what they're looking for differently. People looking for desk accessories are not always the same people who are looking for notebooks and furniture. Aside from that, I'd like to be able to get a sense of what categories of products are generating the highest volume, they're generating the most clicks, the most impressions, the most conversions, which are sales, the most revenue. And the best way to get that type of higher level organization in my account once the data starts coming in is to have my main categories operating under separate campaigns. So I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to create a campaign for the Poppin furniture category. The way I see it shaping up is we'll have the campaign named furniture. So I know that all the ads, ad groups, keywords inside our furniture campaign are going to be advertising products that are in these subcategories. And because there's a lot of subcategories like file cabinets, desks, desk chairs, so on and so forth, what we could do is have separate ad groups for each one of these subcategories. That way we could target the actual text of the ads to those specific categories. So if somebody's looking for desk chairs, they could see an ad that talks about desk chairs. If somebody's looking for file cabinets, they could see an ad that talks about file cabinets. That's the nice thing about having separate ad groups. But I know that this campaign will be targeted to the US. It's going to run on a schedule that we're open. We're going to imagine that we're only going to run our ads from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I'm confident and I'm excited to create a campaign for our furniture category. So let's jump back over into our AdWords dashboard and let's start creating the campaign. So the first thing we want to do is click on the button, Create Your First Campaign. And this opens up a dialog with a number of different options. The first thing we're going to need to do is name the campaign. Now, before I name the campaign, and you're you'll probably learn this the hard way. If I first name my campaign and then I start messing around with different features and deselecting radio boxes and reselecting radio boxes, I'm going to lose my campaign name. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is type, the type of campaign. By default, Google selects Search Network with Display Select. Now, what does that mean? This option will run your ads both on the Google Search Network. And when we say Google Search Network, it means when somebody comes to Google and they search for a product. Somebody comes to Google and they search for office furniture, the results will display our ads. That's the Search Network. The Display Network is if somebody's on a blog, or you're on a news site, or you're on weather.com, whatever it may be, and there are ads on the page, we could actually have our ad show up there as well. Now, we don't want that. I have never seen a situation where a Search Network with Display Select campaign was the right way to go. It's generally an option that will help you save time. It'll help you spend more money. It's good for Google in a way, but it's not good for you. It's not good for the advertiser to run a campaign that's both on the Search Network and Display Select, and on the Display Network as well. We'll talk about why that's the case in more detail later, but just as a short synopsis, the Search Network and Display Network run under different constructs. The Search Network is permission marketing. It's you're the vendor and the customer is coming to you. They're knocking at your door. They're searching for the products. They're showing an active interest in the products and service that you offer. So the way we're going to appeal to those people is going to be completely different than if they're reading something and they haven't expressed any specific interest in our products and we're going to interrupt them with an ad. The way we need to appeal to them, the offers we need to give, the types of imagery and text and emotional signals we need to send in a Display Network ad are really very different than a Search Network ad. And it follows that Search Network ads are usually much more profitable. They're usually much more successful, which makes the entire bidding strategy different for the Search Network and the Display Network. So on the Search Network, oftentimes and almost all the time, it'll make more financial sense to bid more aggressively. And we'll talk about bids in the next chapter, exactly what bids are and how they work, but it will make more sense to spend more money on Search Network ads because they're generally going to result in what we call a higher quality click. So I'm going to click this menu down and I see a number of different options of campaign types. So the first one here is Search Network with Display Select, and you'll be able to recognize this by this little icon that shows a grid which represents the Display Network. That might be an actual web page. It's an icon of a web page plus the magnifying glass. The magnifying glass represents the Search Network. Over here we have Search Network only, which is what we want, just the magnifying glass. There's just the Display Network, and the Display Network is tremendous. We're going to talk about the Display Network. We're going to talk about how you could have huge amounts of success in the Display Network, but we're not creating a Display Network campaign right now. We're creating a Search Network campaign. And then there's Google Shopping, what we call Google Product Listing Ads, or PLAs. Google Shopping is a completely separate strategy. It's a separate skill set. It's a separate technique. And we will talk about Google Shopping, and we will talk about how to create very effective and optimize effective shopping campaigns. But that's going to be later. And we have the option to create online video ads, which means we're going to be launching videos and advertising those videos on YouTube and other websites as well. But for now, click Search Network only. I'm then presented with a few more radio boxes. I have standard, I have all features, mobile app installs, which will basically be advertising my mobile app. If I have a mobile app that I want to advertise and I want to drive installs, Google has a number of features and settings specific to that marketing objective. Mobile app engagement, if I want people to use my mobile app, not necessarily download it. Dynamic search ads, we'll talk about what those are in a later chapter, and call-only campaigns. Call-only campaigns are an interesting type of campaign. They're a campaign that the headline of the ad is the business phone number, and clicking the phone number on a mobile device will open up a click-to-call dialog on your iPhone, on your Android phone, whatever smartphone you're using. So if you have a business, this is very effective oftentimes for plumbers, for local service industries, people who need you quickly, locksmiths and the like. Call-only campaigns could be very effective, but we're going to talk about a traditional campaign, one that is fully featured. So I want to click on All Features. All Features allows me to have access to a whole gamut of